everybody, I'm Tom Vasel, and welcome to Board Game Breakfast. All right, stop. First of all, we need to start with the biggest news of the week, and that is Dice Tower Con 2019 registration opens up this Tuesday. So if you want to come, last time was an amazing time. It is a fantastic convention. All right, we've already, there's lots of great conventions coming up next year. We got Dice Tower Cruise, Dice Tower West. Both of those are sold out. Dice Tower Con is not. So Tuesday, keep an eye, go to Dice Tower Con website, be ready to register for that. We can't wait to see you there. That's tomorrow if you're watching this Monday, so be prepared for that. Okay, so secondly, Essen is coming up very, very soon, our big fair, the Spiel Fair at Essen. And so if you want to know where we'll be, what we'll do, what conventions, we're going to be making a page on our website. So keep an eye on the website. We'll post a little news item when it's ready. We'll have just a little bit of a schedule of where we'll be at the Essen Spiel Fair next week. All right. Also, I'll be doing a live Q&A at some point today, so keep an eye on our live Q&A times if you ever want to just come and ask questions. All right. Well, let's get started with the news. Okay, so first in the news, Think Fun has their third Escape the Room game coming out. Now this is interesting because they did Stargazer's Manor, and their first two escape rooms were fairly easy. They were good for kids. Well, I guess some people complained about that. They said, hey, we heard people say that the game needed to be harder and scarier, so this one's definitely going to be a harder and spookier game. In fact, they claim it's going to be the most difficult escape room game on the market. I don't know who's asking for that. I already feel like I'm hitting my limit with some of these exit games, but we'll have to wait and see. Cryptozoic has Challenge of the Super Friends. Well, this game looks as cheesy as the original cartoon. It's just a little card game, 82 cards, 25 minutes, 2 to 4 players. I loved that cartoon when I was a kid, so we'll see. Hopefully it's good. Fantasy Flight Games has announced a new expansion for Arkham Horror, the card game, The Circle Undone. I didn't even look up any details of this because if you love it, you're getting it. Otherwise, you're not, So, but hey, another one. Marvel Legendary Ant-Man is coming out. This is going to have 5 heroes and 2 masterminds. I'm trying to figure out who the 5 heroes are. So Ant-Man and Wasp, easy. Hank Pym, probably. And I'm going to guess, let's see, Giant Man and Goliath. Oh, Goliath might have already been in the game. I don't know, but definitely those 4. Giant Man, Hank Pym, Ant-Man, and Wasp. We'll see. All right, let's see. Atlas has a new game coming out called Cogs and Commissaires. This is about the robot revolution. I really liked Atlas's last game, and this is one that I'm really anxious and looking forward to trying out. And Plaid Hat has a new Crystal Clan coming out, Fire Clan. So if you like Crystal Clans, there's a new one. And that's pretty much all the regular news there is. That's because Essen's in a week and people are saving their news for then. Let's go to Kickstarter.
Hello fellow gamers, Gloryhound here. I hope you're all enjoying my favorite month of the year as I have some creepy Kickstarters for you. However, if you're ever interested in delving further into these treasures, join me live on Fridays as I dig into all of the details of these games. So, let's get started. First up, we have Wardens. This is by Raven Tales Game, and it's for 1 Elder God and up to 3 Wardens looking to stop the spread of madness by any means. In this one versus many game that lasts about 90 to 120 minutes. Will you guess what Cthulhu has planned and find his hidden artifacts? Or will you fall in battle by choosing the wrong attack, falling into madness, and then turning against the other wardens? This miniature game is from a first-time creator with a lot of ambition and will cost you about $110 with shipping. Also be aware that the estimated delivery time for this is 12 of 2019, which sounds just about right with the miniatures and it being a first-time creator. However, if you're looking to succumb to a different type of madness, then perhaps Pug Quest by Tin Hat Games will throw you into hysteria, as 1 to 5 pugs will join forces in this RPG reminiscent card game that challenges players to manage cards in their hand and to create useful combos taking down villainous creatures across enchanted lands. This adventure will take about 30 minutes and will be a cooperative game that costs about $23. Now, speaking of crawling through dungeons, we have Center Shaft Fallen Elements by Not My Eyeball Games. Now, this is for 2 to 4 treasure hunters looking for rewarding opportunities while avoiding debilitating events, traps, tentacled rooms, and of course other hunters with mysterious treasures in this 30 to 60 minute race to collect all 4 elements and then exit the center shaft. This is a roll and move game that will cost you about $50 and has come to its final form in this 3rd rendition on Kickstarter. Now, lastly, we have a struggle between good versus evil as Mystery, Surviving the Nightmare World by Greenbrier Games hits the table. This hand management game is for 1 hero and 2 to 5 villains looking to take over a city location by location, collect greed, recruit minions, as the hero tries to bring hope to the city and fend off the evil for 3 days and 3 nights. This brawl for greed versus hope, good versus evil in the city full of minion cards will cost about $40 and takes about 30 minutes to play. Other than that, thank you so much for joining me today, guys, okay? If you go to gloryhound.com, you can check out all of my details and start a conversation with me on everything that you've seen here today. Other than that, I will see all of you guys next week.
First, there was Panzerblitz, published in 1970. Then, there was Panzerleader, published in 1974. And now, there's Blitzkrieg, published by Hollenspiel in 2017. This is an easy wargame as it was developed by Scott Muldoon and his 5-year-old son, and it has tried and true concepts such as movement, range, armor penetration, rolling for armor penetration, and facing. Older grognards like myself, can have fun playing with this game. The rulebook is 6 pages long, 4 pages of rules, and a few examples of play, 1 page being the advanced rules, a page of credits, and 1 page is a nice little drawing. Winning is very easy. Capture your opponent's flags, or destroy your opponent's tanks. That's it. So obviously complexity is not the issue here, fun is the issue. So to begin the game, you have obstacles. A building to your left, a forest in the middle, and swamp to your right. You roll 2 dice and you randomly arrange the terrain on the board. So after that's done, you and your opponent secretly and simultaneously pick 5 tanks from 4 different tank types. And once that's done, you place your tanks on each of your starting sides, and this is what the board is supposed to look like. And to show you how tiny the board game is, that's a pen on top of the board. And by the way, I made a mistake on the setup. The red side is supposed to be 1 hex back. Reading the counters. Top left, LT means light tank. Top right, number 3, meaning how many squares it can move. Middle right, the dice, telling you how many dice you can roll to defeat another tank. Bottom right, armor. That means you gotta get that number or higher to defeat a tank. Blitzkrieg. This is a 1 to 2 player game published by Hollenspiel, designed by Scott and Miles Muldoon, developed by Scott Muldoon and Tom Russell. Thanks for watching, and if you want to know more about war games, please check out my channel, No Enemies Here, Wargaming News. See you next week.
Hi, Suzanne here with this week's featured board game app. Bottom of the Ninth is a light and compact baseball-themed game that's been ported over to app form by the talented Handelabra Studios. Let's take a quick look at how this one plays in digital form. Designed to capture the excitement of the single half inning at the end of a baseball game, Bottom of the Ninth has 2 players facing off using some bluffing and dice rolling and special abilities. Each player will pick a pitch. If the batter guesses one or both parts of the pitch correctly, like high and inside or low and inside, then they earn a special ability to help mitigate the luck of the dice. The pitcher will roll 2 dice. 1 indicates the type of ball, and 1 is just a regular 6-sider. If the pitcher rolls a ball, then the batter has to roll lower to get that ball. If a strike zone is rolled, then the batter has to roll higher to get the hit. And if the pitcher rolls a corner, then the batter has to roll an exact match to get that hit. And again, there are those special abilities that you can earn that helps mitigate those dice rolls. And when contact is made, players go in a roll-off to determine if the batter makes it to base or is out. The app version of Bottom of the Ninth faithfully recreates the board game from an aesthetic point of view. All the key information fits well onto the screen. The interactive tutorial does a great job of teaching you the game, and the rules are implemented clearly for you to review and reference. There's online play, both ranked and casual, theoretically, but I think this is a game you're going to need to invite a friend to play instead of waiting for a random match. To play solo, you have different levels of difficulty to select from, and there's a really great solo campaign mode that you can play through as well. But this is an app that I think is best as a pass and play. The challenge of any bluffing game in app form, especially against a computer, is that some of that energy is just lost and the emotional engagement is completely different. And for the roll-off, it lacks excitement against a computer. But the pass and play mode is done really well. It allows for simultaneous rolling, and you gain some of that bluffing and roll-off energy back since you're going to be playing against a real person just using the app as an interface. Bottom of the Ninth is a really well-done app with a solid assortment of digital features. I just feel like the nature of the game's core mechanisms don't lend themselves to digital solo play, but pulling out your phone and playing with a buddy while at a real ball game that's going slowly, that's where this one would shine.
All right, so what's coming from the Dice Tower this week? Well, first of all, I have a whole pile of, each year we do our top 100, and you just saw one go up last week. There's another one going up this week. We're going to continue going through our top 100 till we get to the top 10, which will actually be done live. And I believe that's like November, it's near the end of November, we'll be doing the top 10 live. But I always go farther than my top 10, so I did my top 250 games of all times. So I'll be doing those all week, and Jason Levine comes in and comments on those. I'll also be reviewing this salmon racing game Upstream. I'll be taking a look at this deck building game Ruthless, this worker placement game called Monsterlands, this deduction style game Treasure Island, and this game here Scorpius Freighter. And I'm also going to be talking about why I hate Monopoly. All that coming this way. So also we got a new Miami Dice coming this week where we talk about the newest time stories and our thoughts on time stories as a whole. So you have to wait and see on that. And of course, just various things. We'll be doing a live show, 2 live shows this week. Besides my live Q&A on Wednesday night, Dice Tower tonight, me, Eric, and Crystal go live and talk about things. And then I also do a Kickstarter. Our crowd surfing show is live every other Wednesday. And so that's coming up where we talk about Kickstarter stuff. With all that being said, don't forget our podcast. This week's podcast is me, Eric, Manny, and Suzanne all together talking about stuff we're looking forward to at Essen. Are you ready? Because there's more show. Let's get to it.
Hello guys, I'm Cardboard Rhino and welcome to one more Rhino Says Yes. Today I have a light game to show you. It's a good option if you're looking for a relatively quick filler game for 3 or 4 players, or if you're into pirates, it's Sea of Clouds. In Sea of Clouds, you're a captain of a flying pirate ship dividing up shares of loot to gain rum, relics, objects, and pirates. Your crew will also clash with the opponent's ships and you'll try to fight them off to get the most doubloons and the most loot. Each player has their own captain board. In your turn, you can take the loot lying in one of these 3 slots. You must decide to either take all the cards in the share and then add the top card from the deck face down to this loot space, or to leave the share and look at the next one. If you choose to do the latter, you add the top card from the deck to the share you declined, so you're basically increasing its value for the next player. If none of the shares interest you, you blindly take the top card of the deck. Every 4 or 5 rounds, we have the boarding action. You add the strength of your pirates, you apply any bonuses or penalties, and you face your neighbors. For each victory, your pirates will gain doubloons or steal some loot as shown on the pirate cards. After the fight, all the pirates are discarded. The game ends when the ship token reaches the last island of the board. Players then add the value of their doubloons from all the different sets and types of loot and determine who's the winner. Sea of Clouds is a simple game with card drafting, set collection, and some press your luck elements. It has a very good pace and it also guarantees some playful interactions between the players. you will need to keep track of what everyone is after, because you might need to block them from getting all the sets they can, and you might need to get some cards just to deny them from your opponent. And also, I think the pirate theme is supported in a very nice way, so Rhino says yes to Sea of Clouds. Why not give it a go?
Hi everyone, my name's Annette, and you may know me as Netters Plays. And today on Applied Mechanics, I'm going to go over the game of Harvest. So this is a filler type of worker placement where you're sending off workers in order to gather resources, plant and harvest different types of crops. But there's also initiative cards which dictate turn order. So let me show you a little bit about that and why I really like it. Here's a setup of a two-player game where every player is going to begin with a random farmer, and each farmer will have a specific benefit along with starting resources. There's only going to be a total of 5 rounds, and at the beginning of every round, you'll draw up a certain number of action cards. These will be random locations where workers can go to in order to retrieve special resources or bonuses. Before we start placing our worker on specific locations, we have to figure out who goes first. Initiative. Whichever player has the lowest value initiative card will begin by picking another initiative card for the round. This will not only dictate what order, but also what bonuses they'll retrieve. The next player will do the same, but this time they might even take the card that you just left. You'll then assess who has the lowest value again, and whoever does will then place their worker onto the board. Depending on where workers are placed, they'll be able to do a lot of different things, like gathering resources or seeds, even planting those seeds and watching them grow, along with harvesting them for points. At the end of 5 rounds, whoever has the most points wins. So as you can see, this is just like any other worker placement where you're simply placing a worker down and doing the action that's at that location. You're gathering different bonuses, but the really cool thing about this game are those initiative cards. Players are playing with turn order, and they're doing that by taking these initiative cards. They want to go first to these different locations because there's only 5 rounds. They only have 2 workers, and they have to prioritize what they want to do. Players also have the option to take the higher value cards and go last, but they'll gather more resources because of it. And that's what makes the game really interesting. Besides that, you have these variable starter farmer cards, and you have these different action locations that workers can go to, and it changes from round to round. And that's why I really enjoy Harvest. Well, thanks so much, and we'll see you next time. Bye!
Greetings and welcome to the Mega Meeple. I am Thomas Grogan, and continuing on my showcase of horror-themed board games to play on Halloween, today I'm looking at Children by Three-Headed Giant. Now this is a competitive game for up to 4 players. The Thornhill Mansion used to be an orphanage. There was a fire in 1939 and 13 of the children in the orphanage died. And it wasn't until 1956 that the Thornhill Mansion was bought by a tycoon and renovated. It stirred up the ghosts of the 13 children that died in the fire. So you play some ghost hunters that go into the mansion to try to put these 13 ghosts to rest. In order to do so, you have to match the children's favorite toy with that specific ghost. But when you do, you run the risk of making one of the other ghosts jealous. So this is a tile placement game where you're basically exploring each room of the different levels of the mansion, looking for clues, searching for toys, and laying traps for your fellow players to run across. But the game continues until the draw deck is empty, and then whoever reunites the most children ghosts with their favorite toy wins the game. Now this game is just downright creepy with its imagery, and trust me, we're not talking about Casper the Friendly Ghost here, because some of the pictures in this game is just creepy. Even to the point that it even has its own soundtrack that you could download. So, if you're looking for a seriously creepy game that sends chills down your spine while you're playing it, check out Children. And trust me, you'll be sleeping with the lights on from now on.
Hi, Mike Licio from Solomode Games. Recently, I started a new podcast called Sporadically Bored with Mike and Dan. This features Dan Hughes, the much less popular half of Dan and Cora from Board Game Breakfast. And at the risk of blatant self-promotion, if you enjoy inane babbling and occasionally talking about board games, you might want to check it out. I think it might be worth your time. On the most recent episode, we were talking about the big game conventions like Gen Con and Essen and the huge product dumps that happen there, and discussing whether we think this is good or bad for the hobby or indifferent. And so it got me thinking about, although I'm not going to Essen, giving you a top 5 most anticipated solo games list. And so using the fantastic Board Game Geek tool, I went through and it turns out that I have 16 games that I listed as must-haves and 27 that I listed as interested. Now, not all of these are solo games, but the vast majority of them are. And so here are my top 5 most anticipated solo games. At number 5 is Australia. This is a game by Martin Wallace that is considered to be at least a spiritual sequel to A Study in Emerald. This looks like a much different game. It almost looks like a train game with Cthulhu, and that's a mashup I can get behind. At number 4 is Holding On. This is a very intriguing and unique game with a theme that I've certainly never seen before. It deals with someone in the later stages of their life, and it's a cooperative game. I don't know a whole lot about it, but I kind of don't want to know too much about it before I get in. I've just heard really good things. At number 3 is Cerebria, The Inside World. This is from Mind Clash Games. They've made Tricarion, which made my brain explode. They made Anachrony, which is one of my favorite games, and it has a terrific solo game, so I'm much looking forward to this. Number 2 is Dice Hospital. I love this theme. I love the way the art and components look. I'm very much intrigued with this and definitely going to be getting a hold of it. And at number 1, my most anticipated solo game from Essen, it's not going to be a huge surprise to people who know my tastes, and that is Architects of the West Kingdom. This is another game by Shem Phillips, and he has a co-designer, and this is a game that is starting a new trilogy. I love the North Sea games, and this is a little bit of a cheat because I got a early chance to play this with a prototype. I did a solo playthrough, and I absolutely adored it. I can't wait to get a hold of an actual production copy. So, there you have it, my top 5 most anticipated solo games for Essen 2018. Thank you as always for your time, and have a great day.
So a little over a year ago, I talked about how the fact that Miami didn't really have any good gaming stores. Well, in exactly a year ago, as of tomorrow, a good local store opened up. And so tomorrow is our anniversary, and if you happen to be in the area, we certainly invite you out to the cool stuff in Kendall, or South Miami. And it's been there for a year, so how has that changed our lives, or my life in general, having a really good game store to go to? Well, first of all, I go to it every chance I get. I liked going to the cool stuff up in Hollywood, but this one is a lot closer to my house. And it's nice to have this store here. Now, every store is going to be different. You know, there are some stores, I just went to a couple stores in Iceland that were amazing with their selection and all the things that they have there. And one was a great nook for kids, right? Cool Stuff's thing is there's a lot of good, clean, well-lit, fun playing space there. Of course, they have the games. There's not a huge selection of games, but a decent selection of games. You know, all the hot games are there, and you can always order games from Cool Stuff and have them sent to that location and pick them up. And that's fantastic. But just being able to go in there, and it's always clean, always friendly. And the one thing I have to say about Cool Stuff Kendall is the staff. Adrian is the manager there, and he is the nicest, most professional manager I think that I've ever met, really, for any game store. And I've met a lot of great ones. And of course, obviously, I'm biased. He's so close, and we work together, and we go game with him. He's a gamer, but also a businessman, you know, and he puts forth the shop first and making sure everything there runs smoothly. And this isn't just him. I've been to a lot of stores where the manager is really great, and there's a bit of a trickle-down effect. Here, it's really obvious. Even when Adrian is not in the store runs smoothly. They do a good job at keeping things going. They do a good job at helping customers when they come in looking at stuff, and it is just a joy to be there. So I'm pleased about this. I like having a place that I can go and play games. Sure, I can play games here in my studio, I can play games in my house, but a game store, I get to meet different people as they come through, and we have a really good gaming meetup that we do every week on Tuesday night and once a month on a Saturday, and it's just fantastic. And then of course there's the Magic players get together there, the Yu-Gi-Oh players. There are several big role-playing groups that play there on Tuesday nights. There's sometimes 4 different role-playing games going on in the back, and it's just a fascinating, fun thing to see. It's in a great location too. Lots of place to eat nearby. And I just wanted to take this video just to say I'm really thankful for it. I'm really thankful that such a store exists. When I did that video a while ago, I wasn't happy because I wished I had a good store to go to. Well, sometimes wishes come true.
Howdy folks, welcome to By the Numbers. My name is Hunter Thomason from the Family Showdown. Each episode of By the Numbers, we take a look at a board game numeric related topic. This week's topic, the definitive Essen anticipated list. So the top lists of everyone's anticipated Essen games are showing up all over the YouTubes. So I went out, looked at all of them that I could find, did a little combination mathy stuff, and I have the definitive list top 5 Essen anticipated games. Coming in at number 5 is the latest and greatest from Uwe Rosenberg, Reykholt. Farming worker placement, but this time in Iceland. Coming in at number 4 is Newton, where players take on the role of a scientist. It's got all sorts of hand management, tile placement, all sorts of good mechanisms all bundled together in a nice little package. Coming in at number 3 is Carpe Diem, the latest and greatest from Stefan Feld, where you're drafting tiles, you're building out your little district, you have a little board where you're putting tiles on, and you're trying to make the best district to get the most victory points. Coming in at number 2 is the other Stefan Feld game for this year, the bigger, meatier Foreign Trianum. In Foreign Trianum, you are building out your district. You're trying to have the best district, you're drafting tiles, you have variable player powers, all sorts of fun and crazy goodness. Coming in at number 1 is Teotihuacan.
Teotihuacan.
It wasn't even close, folks. This one blew all the other competition away. In Teotihuacan, there's all sorts of fun things going on. You got tile drafting. You got the whole board is a big, massive rondel. All sorts of greatness going on. It's getting all the buzz, especially from the Euro players in this year's Essen. See you next time.
Hey, here on Board Game Coffee, I want to do something a little different. I want to have a discussion with you. A discussion about Monopoly. On a hobbyist board game channel, you don't usually see a lot of people talking about Monopoly. And why? Because a lot of people hate on Monopoly. They call it crap. Now here's the thing. I'm fairly new to the hobbyist board game community. And yet, it wasn't until I got into this hobby where we all support board games and we support the board game community and we love how board game community brings us all together and we're all social. And it's great, and there's a great community out there. But then there's a hate-on for Monopoly. Now, I get it. If you compare it to other mechanics that are in games that are available today, it doesn't really measure up. But I can't honestly call Monopoly a bad game because, mechanics aside, Monopoly was a huge part of my childhood. I have fond memories of playing Monopoly with a family that, to be honest, I don't see as much anymore as I did. And there was a lot of good times there. And that was a game that I could play with them openly, and everybody understood it. I couldn't take Agricola to my family and play with them, but I could take Monopoly there. So call it crap if you want, but I haven't played Monopoly in over 30 years. And I can open up now, and the only thing I'd have to check up in the rules is how much money do people start with. I can't hate on Monopoly because it holds a special place in my heart where your childhood nostalgia lives. So I guess my question to you is Monopoly so bad? I mean, it was there when there wasn't much else, and then we built on it, right? It brought people together first. It laid a lot of groundwork in building this community we so adore and become so fond of. Let me know what you think. I'd love to hear your thoughts.
Randy and Ellen, we came together.
your turn.
Ooh. Hi guys, I'm Ellen.
I'm Randy.
I said my name first tonight.
Switching it up.
We're majorly changing our videos by me saying my name first. So don't get confused, it's us. We're talking about this game tonight that I've been eyeing and watching videos about for a super long time. I really wanted it because I'm totally biased towards the theme, which is anything Victorian. I love reading about it and watching movies about it, and now I get to play a game about it, and it's so well done.
It is a really well done game. I like the theme myself. I know some people will be kind of yes or no on it, but the theme is great. It really, the theme does it justice. You know, it's a great
really
game,
does.
and the theme fits really well throughout the entire game.
Yeah, I love the verbiage of this game that happens when you're just like talking about your turns. You're controlling valets and
Or valets.
valets or valets.
You're across the pond.
Across the pond.
My terrible British accent that
I don't know what that was, but that's okay. Mine was bad too. And ladies' maids and butlers, and I just footmen. It's just so. I love the things you have to say when you're playing this. It's really cool.
Yeah, there's you invite different guests of different prestige. You have to have like a certain reputation level before you can invite some of the higher guests. And as you're courting, you're trying to court for people's attention. Right. It's a game that I've never quite seen work this way. You choose like a tile, which is basically an activity that you're hosting, whether it's like a sporting event or you're playing cards or you're building an addition to the house or something, and you have to select somebody to handle that event. But then as you are inviting guests, you need to provide ladies' maids and valets.
You gotta have service for everybody.
Right.
Yeah, I love that. And it's very true to the time period, how it was so important that, you know, even if you did have a lot of money, like if you did not have a good reputation or social status, it just didn't matter. People wouldn't, talk, they'd snub you. I don't want to live in that time period because that's horrible. But
if you're a fan of flavor text, it's abounding in flavor text. The rule book, the glossary that comes with it, all of it. The rule book is a little wordy, so sometimes it's really hard to find information. Like you'll be reading a paragraph that you know the answer's in, and you're reading like a ton before you actually get to the answer.
He would go rule check for something, and seriously, I'm like, I'm gonna go make some coffee because I'm gonna be here a while.
But it is, exhaustive. It is, everything is in there, so that's good.
It's awesome. We love it so much, guys.
And stay tuned for the photo of the day.
Hey there everyone, it's Jen, the board game librarian, flipping some pages and pushing some cubes with this week's segment From the Page to the Table. Continuing our spooky Halloween series with a title that's maybe not spooky, but that's okay. Gets me in the Halloween mood, and that is The House of Silk, a Sherlock Holmes novel by Anthony Horowitz. Okay, so let's be straight. So you're going to say to me, Jen, you're going to pair it with Sherlock Holmes Consulting Detective, right? And you would, of course, be correct. But Jen, why did you not do it with one of Conan Doyle's original stories? Well, okay. All right. So here we have with Anthony Horowitz, Sherlock Holmes for a modern audience. Here we have with Sherlock Holmes Consulting Detective, Sherlock Holmes for a modern audience. They're also not stories that are really in the Holmes larger picture too, in the canon that we have by Conan Doyle. This is the extension of the universe. We have this engrossing story that's really, he's channeling Arthur Conan Doyle here in House of Silk, and the creators of Sherlock Holmes Consulting Detectives are doing that as well. You have a brand new experience here of really almost rediscovering Sherlock Holmes, and then here you have a gaming experience too. Now we can have a whole argument about whether, Sherlock Holmes is a board game or an RPG, but it's this awesome adventure where you're trying to beat Holmes, right? Some of the characters are better fleshed out here. Some of the characters are better fleshed out here. And Horowitz had been granted by the Conan Doyle estate too. He really has like the official privileges to continue the Holmes canon for a modern audience. I really love the two of these. I think they're great with gamers, non-gamers, and really just make Holmes for everyone, because he is for everyone, right? That's all for this week. Happy breakfast.
All right, folks, welcome to the interview section of our show. Today we have with us designer and publisher Charlie Bink. Welcome to the show, sir.
Thank you very much for having me on.
Now, you're best known for trekking the national parks. And this is a little interesting to me because I'm just a few miles from one of the biggest national parks in America, I believe, the Everglades.
Huge, yeah.
So what was the idea? There's national parks all over the place. What kind of made you take that and turn it into a game?
So the way the game came about, it's kind of interesting. I've been a fan of board games for years and years. Like everyone else, the Settlers of Catan bug hit me in the early 2000s. So I'd been working as an artist, working as an animator. I was interested in making art. And once I kind of got into the game hobby, I said, you know what, I want to make art for games. That's kind of what got me into it. And the reason the parks came in is my family and my parents have been really big lovers of the national parks. And when my parents retired, they decided that their bucket list was they wanted to visit every single national park. So they had been going around for years, since like 2009, visiting every single park one by one. And my dad, loving photography, he started taking photos of the parks, started documenting them in a blog. We were meeting every Sunday to have a family night, play some games. I was trying to introduce them to games, not having a lot of luck. I would show them like Dominion. They were like, nah, over our heads, don't know what this is. And one day I brought Ticket to Ride and they're like, hey, we really like this. It really connected. And my dad just right then and there, after like a really great like game night, just said, we should really make a game like this, except about the national parks that doesn't exist. And I was like, that's a great idea. And like, you're the person and we're the people to make it. So let's do it. And so it kind of became a family project that we worked on for a couple of years, sort of between my parents started going out, visiting national parks, learning more about them, coming back. And meanwhile, I was like doing art for the game and sort of designing it, and we play test together. And that's kind of how the game came about. And when it was all said and done, people really loved it and really proud of it.
Now, when you were picking the parks that go into this, did you put them all in, or did you have to like make some hard choices which parks you put in?
We did have to make some hard choices. What's interesting is most of the national parks are all sort of clumped onto the western side of the United States, just how it is. And our first version of the game, it just seemed, just from a graphic design aspect and just sort of an interface aspect, it made sense to just do the west side. But just our early play tests, playing with some people that were from Ohio, that were from Virginia, they were like, where are our parks? So at the end of the day, I was like, all right, well, we have to do the full country, and we'd like to put all the parks on the board. But we had to sort of make some sacrifices, say, well, just for the overall design and layout and gameplay, we pulled some of them out and kept some of the more major ones in, just to sort of like make it lay out and play well. But we do have on the map, every single major park is listed and shown. I wanted the game on some level to be educational, even if it's just in an ancillary sense. I think that's goes a little underrated. Education doesn't always have to be a quiz. Sometimes it can just be like, oh, I've noticed something, and now I know that. And so the geography of the parks, all the park cards that we have in the game now have little facts about them, so you can learn a little something while you're playing, just like a fun game.
Let's take a quick side trip here. Did you ever actually see all the parks?
I myself have only been to about 20. I'm kind of now that I've gotten myself into all this, I'm like, all right, I need to start one by one ticking these off, visiting all of them. I've been to most of them in the Southwest area because I'm from Phoenix. I've also been to one Alaska park. My personal favorite is Glacier. Not a lot of people realize how great Glacier National Parks is. And I do really want to get a chance to see Dry Tortugas as well, because it looks amazing. So,
well, it's interesting. Not a lot of people, especially even Americans, that have these parks, they don't really know about a lot of them or have even visited hardly any of them.
It's true. I mean, most of the major ones are the ones people know, like Yellowstone or Yosemite. And that's kind of where I think the value of the game comes in too, is like while you're playing this game, the mechanics are simple enough. It's easy to just jump in and start playing. You're moving around. You go, oh, Mesa Verde. What's Mesa Verde? And then you realize, oh, it's a national park in Colorado that has a cliff palace that's over 1,000 years old that, Native Americans used to live in. And so, you're playing the game. It has these interesting locations that are real, almost fantasy-like in how beautiful they are. And you learn a little something while you're playing it. So, yeah.
So when you made this game, then you decided to publish it on your own. I believe this was in 2014.
Yep, it was back in 2014. I'd been following, this was kind of the rise of Kickstarter, and the excitement was just starting to swell up and build. And I was so interested in the idea of doing a Kickstarter. And so at the time, I didn't know much about publishing. I just knew it was something I'd like to do, and I thought, let's give it a try. So we decided to put the game together, and we put it on Kickstarter. And we were actually quite successful for barely knowing what we were doing. It actually worked out okay in the big scheme of things. For how many things that can go wrong with a Kickstarter, I deem myself pretty lucky and my family pretty lucky in how we were able to pull it off. And a lot of the backers were very happy with it.
Well, so now 4 years later, we're seeing a second edition of this. What's the differences? What are the changes? What brought this about?
Yeah, so the reasoning why this all came about is we had made our initial order, we'd sold it out, then we placed another order and we sold all those out. The game was doing really great. But over the years, after selling it and playing it with lots and lots of people, I started realizing more and more the type of people that like the game the most. I consider myself a gamer and I like gamery games, and there are a lot of gamers that like my game, but I also noticed just a lot of just families, just a lot of national park lovers in general were really interested in the game. They really wanted to play it. They wanted to learn how to play it. And I just noticed that since it was a little earlier in me designing games, there were some things that I was like, I can improve upon this. I can sort of make this a little bit easier entry for a new player without sacrificing what makes the game fun. So my number one reason for doing the second edition was to make it even easier to learn, even more, fun to just jump right in and still kind of keep the fun of the original game. And so took out some elements that were a little harder to understand and added some elements that I thought were fun and new for people that kind of always wanted the game, to give them something extra.
So how would you kind of sell this game? If somebody, you mentioned it's not necessarily for gamers, it could be for gamers. Who would be your perfect person to get this game?
I see a family that has a game night, mom, pop, and kids. Actually, what's interesting is I noticed that what really worked well with my game too is I found that grandparents really liked the game because the theme drew them in. I mean, as we know, theme can be so important and really affect someone's desire to want to give a game a chance. And so I consider it the family game. It's like the Thanksgiving dinner night game that you could pull out and play. And it's quick. It doesn't last more than an hour. Sometimes it can be as quick as 30 minutes, and turns go really fast. And it's easy enough to learn and understand.
Have you heard from anybody who took the game with them to the different parks and played it at them?
We have on our Facebook page, every now and then we'll repost people that do that. It's kind of a big game. It's maybe not necessarily the best, let's go and sit down in the middle of a national park game, or sit down in the middle of a national park and play, just because there's a lot of little pieces and whatnot. But a lot of people do it anyways. They're committed to have that experience. I'm hoping one day to make a game that's a little more like camping friendly for national park visitors. But this is the big box game for national park lovers.
So if someone wanted to get this right now, how would they do so?
So they can buy it from my publishing website. My publishing website is underdoggames.com. And you can go there, you can buy the game, and it will be shipped right to you from us.
And folks, we'll have a link to that in the description of the video if you want to check that out. So what do we see in the future for your company?
So our goal, and we've had a lot of success with trekking and with sort of this new breed of people who are getting into games. So we want to do gateway games that are focused on lifestyles and interests. I'm personally still interested in doing more games about nature, if I can. But we have some other little projects we're working on that, kind of fall under the same goals as what trekking did, which is reaches to the entire family with specific interests on different themes that maybe are outside of. You're not going to see a lot of knights or spacemen on the cover of our games per se. But
so it's kind of interesting. You went from making a game to play with your family, and now you have a publishing company.
Yeah. This is how life works. You just do something, and sometimes it cascades and it becomes your. I'm sure you understand how that goes, where it can kind of consume your life. But it's been a lot of fun. I really like the publishing. I love designing games. I love doing art, but I really love, more than anything, making something, like a project that has kind of a grand aspect to it, where it's a big undertaking, and it's really fulfilling when it's done. And when I first did trekking, it definitely had that. I did another game called Pups, which is a trick-taking game that I also was a success, and I still sell to this day, and that was a lot of fun. And I'm working on some new games now. And as I've started getting deeper into like the publishing side of it, I've had to put on the hat that's more of like the director and try to work with artists, even work with developers and other designers as well. And I enjoy it a lot.
Well, thanks so much, Charlie, for coming on Board Game Breakfast, and we look forward to seeing the second edition of this game.
Thank you, Tom.
Lord, this is Gaming with the People. This game is called First Orchard. This cooperative game for Haba.
First Orchard by Haba. It's a cooperative game, so we all win or lose together.
Get your food and read the food in the basket.
You want to avoid the raven, because if you roll the raven too much, he's going to steal all your fruit, right? And we don't want that to happen.
No. My favorite thing is the raven. My mom is really bad at that game. My mom always rolls the raven.
We're on a roll. This is Gaming with the People.
They give you a thumbs up and hit the subscribe button. It's right down low. You hit it.
Happy breakfast, everybody. Now, I've been away for a couple of weeks in the land of China, and it was absolutely amazing. I haven't had too much time to play some board games in that time, but I did take some. Now, don't worry, this isn't just going to be another talk about Hanamakoji, but I did use the box because I took Hanamakoji, but I also managed to fit the whole of the mind in there, which I found that was really good sizing. There was a little bit of room left over. I could have maybe fit in a small other card game, but really it wasn't needed. But how did they work as travel games? Well, the mind I thought would be really good, but actually both of them were quite hard. Being card games where you need to put stuff down, the mind was better because we were able to play that with very limited table space. But everyone needed to be able to see the same table space. So we played that on a train when there was a table in the middle. It worked even with the national guide we had there. That worked really well because once you'd explain the rules, there's not much going on in terms of language, so we could play no matter what. In terms of Hanamakoji, we managed to play this on the plane across two of the lap tray things. Other than that, because of the sizing that you need, it wasn't the best travel game, unfortunately. I kind of had in my head that it would be better, but kind of the size of these cards, it didn't quite work out as I thought it might. Anyway, I hope everyone's had a good couple of weeks while I've been off, both gaming-wise and other. And next week I'll probably talk about Essen because I'm getting excited about it now. And I'm Oliver East, signing out.
Welcome to The Pitch.
Hi everyone. Essen is in 2 weeks and mistakes have been made. I was so excited about the games that would be released at Essen. Everdell, Great Western Trail expansion, Carpe Diem, a Stefan Feld game, Scythe expansion, the campaign. And I showed my list to Ilka a couple of months ago, and she was okay with that list. So, in my excitement, I ordered those games, and they have all come in. And now, Essen is here, and my budget is gone. I'm not sure yet how I'm gonna solve this problem because, yeah, there are still a couple of games on my wish list. I managed to put Forbidden Sky, which is more a game that I want. My son has got it on his list now. And I'm nudging Ilka to look into the Mayans and the Aztecs. And Mexico would be cool. Wouldn't it be cool if we someday went to Mexico and looked at Teotihuacan? She doesn't know there's a game called like that yet. But if she's excited, then maybe she'll spot it and say, "Oh, Dave, we need to get that game." So I planted my seeds, but right now there's no money. There she is.
I'm currently in the middle of filming my top 50 games of all time. Get excited. I'm doing it for my own channel, which is This Game Is Broken, the comedy board gaming panel show nobody asked for. But that's not actually the point. And I used a facility on a website called Meeple with which to do it, which was pretty useful. So check them out. But it's really kind of odd, actually, because it's way harder than you think it's going to be. Because I rate David and Goliath higher than I rate Granha. That can't be right, can it? Because to be honest, I'm not sure if David and Goliath is better than Le Granha. I think maybe I've just had more fun playing David and Goliath, which doesn't make it better. I'm so confused about this whole thing. Like most things. What I need to remember, I suppose, is how I'm judging the games. And I'm not judging them on mechanics and strategies and all the intricacies of the games. I think I'm just judging them with what games I enjoy more. I just kind of hope that's valid. But then again, I rated Anomia lower than I rated Trajan. And Trajan's a lot of things, but I'm not sure if it's enjoyable in a classic sense. Get it? Classic? Based in ancient Rome? Doesn't matter. I guess for me, the position of most of the games is just how I'm feeling on that day. I mean, some days Trajan is better than Anomia. And then some days it isn't. Bye.
Thanks for watching Board Game Breakfast. Tune in each week for your daily dose of gaming goodness with Tom Vasel and all the gang. Until next time, I'm Eric Summerer, and you've been watching Board Game Breakfast, a Dice Tower production, sponsored by Cool Stuff Inc., an amazing place to buy board games. Cool stuff in stock at coolstuffinc.com.